Good Saturday to everybody. This is my inaugural Chris Rocket podcast, and very happy to be here. Very, very happy to finally be able to do this. This has actually been 5 years in the making, but we here. Let me do a quick introduction of myself. Born and raised in Dallas. I currently reside in Austin, Texas. I'm a proud father of two wonderful, wonderful young kings, Chris Jr. and Jordan. Love you guys to death. Hopefully one day you're, you'll hear this and laugh at it. But I've always had a great love for sports. Playing at Pinkston High School under the great coach Nick Smith, Coach Anthony McGee, Edmund Taylor, Gerald Smith, Fred Morris. I had the greatest coaches I could have, and they kind of, I don't know, unconsciously set me up for this because I always had this great knowledge of sports, and I didn't even know it until a couple years ago. Well, more than a few years ago. I actually wanted to do this, as far as sports radio, you know, after hearing, 105.3 The Fan out there in Dallas, really, really great sports radio show. Um, just seeing how much fun they have and seeing and hearing, how different they do it. It's not just take phone calls and, you know, one topic, take phone calls, and that's it. And you get lucky if something were to happen. There'll be days where no sports happen and it still be entertaining. So um, I want to become that kind of guy, and I feel like my personality and my you know expertise, at least I think it's expertise. It's something unique. So what are we going to discuss for this just podcast? Well, I guess first off, we just get caught up, really get caught up in a lot of NBA stuff, a little bit of NFL stuff. You know, because the NBA is that's what's popping right now. So I'm going to get caught up in some NBA stuff. A little NFL news. Really just get caught up. First, the NBA. The NBA has been pretty crazy, man. Real crazy. Got different people shifting from you know you got the conference shift. The West is back strong again. You got you know all kinds of freaking moves, and I'm going to basically just get my take on a lot of these trades, man. We're going to talk about the trades. A lot of trades that went down that most of them I liked. Most of them I liked, and surprisingly, um, for surprising reasons for some of them. But there are some that I hate that other people liked. Um, we're gonna start with the Jimmy Butler trade to to Minnesota. I felt like that was a great move, considering what's been going on in that on that team, and it had to be done. It had to be done for all parties involved. And if you really look at what happened when it ended up happening to Rondo ended up leaving. Dwayne Wade is still there currently. Who knows what might happen to him? Um, but if you really look at that trade, I guess both sides, you can kind of be like, you know what, wipe your hands clean and just move on. Chicago, they got Chris Dunn, who they actually liked when he came out the draft. They was really trying to get him. And I think that was when Tibbs was the coach. If I'm not mistaken, Tibbs wanted him very, very bad. And, you know, in order to get his guy back, he had to give up the guy he actually wanted. But I digress. But they get Chris Dunn, they get Zach Levine, so Chicago has a very nice young pieces to go with. You know, Bobby Portis, who's a really good power forward. You got Rolo. I mean, who knows what's going to happen to Miritich, who, as of right now, I don't think he has an offer sheet yet. Um, they got some nice young pieces, something to build around. They got some good pieces, and then you look on the other side, man. Minnesota, they just gets more dangerous, man. They just get more dangerous. Now they lost Rubio. You lose Zach Levine. You lose Chris Dunn. Now you got to do something with that bench. But you can't. You know, those are very fixable things. You got a guy like Tom Thibodeau who can bring out the best out of everybody. He's just one of those coaches where you go hard for. You run through a brick wall for him. I think that was a good trade for both sides. The Paul George to Oklahoma City. A lot of people are saying, Oklahoma City, you're dumb because Paul George is not even going to re-sign with you. Here's why I feel like that trade was brilliant for Oklahoma City. It covers them both ways. It covers them both ways. If Paul George was to re-sign with them, then nobody would. You know what? That was a great trade. Oh, that was a great trade. If he does not, number one, you got rid of Oladipo's contract, which was, I think he had 3 years left, $21+ million a piece. You get from under that contract, and at the same time, you saved money by bringing in Paul George. You actually saved money, and if Paul George doesn't return, boom, that's money off the books. That's money off the books. You can go acquire someone else, and to be quite honest, Westbrook is the type to where if you get him some shooters, boom, that's automatic 50 wins. Look at what the Rockets did. Shooters to go with somebody that drives to the hole. 50+ wins. Oklahoma City did a wonderful job in this trade. Now, Indiana, on the other hand, they get a nice young piece because Oladipo returns to a place where, he went to Indiana University. So I guess with that comfort level of returning back to where the last place where he was great, I think a breath of fresh air might do something for him. And they also got Sabonis, who's a very nice stretch four, very decent stretch four. You kind of look at that Indiana team. You got Collison at point guard, who was like, he's not the best, but he is mad consistent. Mad consistent. He does his job. He plays within himself. I think that team could be on the cusp of the playoffs, considering the power shift. That team could be on the cusp of the playoff. You got a lot of guys who going out there and just work hard. You got Thaddeus Young is still there. Miles Turner, he's going to take a step up. Like I said, so Bonus is going to, probably get a little bit more playing time. You got, who knows what's going to happen to Monte Ellis. You got Oladipo, who I guess now becomes the primary scoring option. And you got yourself a pretty decent lineup going on over there. So for both sides, I think it was pretty decent. It was pretty decent. It wasn't as terrible as everybody say it is. I think it was pretty decent, considering everything that everybody wins in something. Everybody wins in something. The next trade we got is the Brooklyn Nets and the LA Lakers. Now, I think with every brand new GM, when you come in, you're going to clean up the dirty work. First things first, you already know what's on the top of the list. What can I do with this Mozgov contract? And every GM, once they see something like that, they got to have that but I kind of move. The but I kind of move. It's like they could go 0-82 for 3 years straight, but I got rid of that Mozgov contract. And that's exactly what he did. And he had to give up D'Angelo Russell, which I guess when you're on the phone with Prokhorov, he probably thought he stole D'Angelo Russell. But in all honesty, I mean, you get Lonzo Ball. You want to make it appear as if they're going to be the best duo in the NBA, when all along you're going to give them up. You're really going to give them up, and I think Magic had the best, the perfect storm, the perfect out to give him up. Of course, you got to make him look sexy. You got to make him look sexy to make his quality a lot higher. They're going to give him up all along. Of course, they were dangling Jordan Clarkson out there to make it look like they were really going to pair them two up. But in all honesty, Magic is so fucking smart. Um, he was going to give up D'Angelo Russell all along because he get Alonzo Ball. He's going to be the primary ball handler for that team, and I think that was genius. And this is another trade where I feel like if you really can think about it, both sides won. Of course, the Lakers win, more than the Nets, considering the direction both of they're going. But to quickly get on the Nets actually save money at their center position. They save money. Brooke Lopez for probably like 21 mil. Mozgov steps in, he makes 15. So you save money at your center position. You know, and then they get a nice young point guard. Jeremy Lin is a very good, veteran point guard for us. Kind of goes at it a different way, sees things differently. He can learn from Jeremy Lin. Maybe not the prototypical guy for D'Angelo Russell, but considering you know you know the experience Lin has, and where he's been, and you know and also the coach, and just being in that spot. I think Russ could learn a little bit from Jeremy Lin, and I think that'll be good. Now the Nets have something to build around, and that they have developed a nice young core in that backcourt. They got Whitehead, they got Hollis Jefferson, you know, Levert. Now they got Russell. Now they just need a nice, decent stretch forward to kind of go along with that. But I feel like, that'll happen in time. The Lakers, on the other hand, you get a guy, you get that low post presence you haven't had since Andrew Bynum. You know, Brook Lopez, he comes in, he does his job. He he lets he now allows Julius Randle to meander around that perimeter. You know, Brook Lopez has great hands. He can still shoot that three. I don't think he would need to in this particular team, but he could do it. I mean, he brings that blue collar work ethic to this team, and he's a veteran. He can kind of show the young centers, the way to go, how to move, being in the right spot, setting screens correctly. Because Brook Lopez sets great screens, and he could do a lot for that lineup, man. He's a nice big target for Lonzo Ball, who is really good at throwing that post entry pass over the top when the guy's fronting the center. He's really good at throwing that pass, and Brook is really, like I said, really good hands. He can finish. I could just picture him averaging probably 16 and 9 for that team, and I think that's freaking perfect. Even though it's probably gonna be his, lower than his previous years. 16, you average 16 and 9. I think that will be great for that team. 16 points, 9 rebounds. Even though, he's been a 20 and 10 guy. So I feel like, Brook Lopez for that team, and money wise, he's only there for 1 year. And if he re-up, he probably, you never know. He might take a pay cut. He might come back for, let's say 17, 18. Now, I guess the only bad contract now is Luol Deng's, but I don't think you have to, I don't think you have to dump Luol Deng. I think Luol Deng still can give you some Meta World Peace type minutes. I think he can still be effective, and I think for that locker room, you need a guy like Luol Deng. So I don't think they have to give a Luol Deng, but the Brook Lopez trade was genius. Magic did an awesome job in really finessing that trade. Now, the big one and the big rumor, the Chris Paul trade. A lot of people like this trade. A lot of people like it. Me personally, I don't. Not because of Chris Paul. Not because of the dynamic of Chris Paul and James Harden. It's the fact that you give up all of that for him. You give up a guy that was first team all defense. You give up the sixth man of the year. And you give up a flourishing, you know, wing in Sam Decker, who I feel like was going to come to his own. He finally got healthy. His rookie year, he only played 3 games. He, he was healthy. He was really getting his feet wet. And you give all of that up for, you know, a sexy piece. That's pretty much what it is. A nice, sexy piece. You know, a guy who was frustrated with his own team. I mean, as he should. I mean, who wants to be out of the first round every single year? You know, but if you if you really think about it, man, like they hurt themselves more than they actually helped them. Because who's gonna play point guard? Who's gonna play backup point guard? Um, what are you gonna do? Sign Jason Terry? You're gonna sign Jason Terry? Is that what you're gonna do? And you, Lou Williams, he was one of those 4 or 5 guys on that team to be, a very potent 3-point threat. Sam Decker was becoming one of those guys as well. I'm a guy. I'm a guy where back in the day, you had a superstar, and then you had role players. We had role players that complemented the superstar, and there were times where you as a GM, you did not want to mess that up. You didn't want to you couldn't give up Eric Snow on the Sixers. You couldn't give up Eric Snow because he was great for Iverson. You couldn't give up Derek Fisher because he was great for Kobe. He was great for Shaq. You couldn't give up guys like that. You couldn't give up Ron Harper. You couldn't give up Jeff Hornacek. Like guys like that, you gotta. Those guys are just expendable. Like you can't just Doug Christie for that Sacramento Kings team. You like there are certain guys where you just they just glue the whole team together. Patrick Beverly, to me, say what you want about him being dirty, him being this and that. Patrick Beverly set the tone. Patrick Beverly defensively is way more effective than Chris Paul. Not to say Chris Paul isn't a good defender, but I think Patrick Beverly comes at you every single play. Not to say Chris Paul doesn't. Chris Paul is a calculated gambler. If he's going against Westbrook, he's going to go hard at Westbrook. If he's going against a guy like Jordan McRae, he's probably going to be like, okay, let me sit back. I'm going to wait till he make a mistake. Patrick Beverly doesn't care. He will go at you whether you're Russell Westbrook or he's going to go at you the same exact way. And that sets the tone. And that also creates extra possessions for your offense. It don't have to be a steal every time. Yeah, he might get in foul trouble, 4 or 5 games out the year. But there's something about just having that defensive intensity, and it gives you that extra 4 or 5 possessions every game. And those 4 or 5 possessions are crucial, especially nowadays where everybody's like throwing up threes now. Yes, Chris Paul, makes up for it on the offensive end by, dishing assists. But, I mean, those assists might not be open all the time. They're going to miss Patrick Beverly so much, man. And I think for the Clippers, I don't know. Me personally, I don't know how Doc can handle all of this. Yes, he gets Gallinari, but for that team, it has a nice little thing going. They lost Jamal Crawford. You get Beverly, you get Gallo, you get Decker, you get Lou Williams. They have nice scoring up and down. But is this Blake's team? Is this Gallinari's team? Like now your point guard, like DeAndre Jordan, how valuable is he now? Because a lot of his lobs were from a guy who can see the court, who can see the court differently. That's why if I felt like Rondo would have been perfect for Doc Rivers, but I don't know their relationship. Rondo ended up signing with New Orleans Pelicans. What is that team going to be like now? We don't know, and we can't blame it on Patrick Beverly. We can't blame it on Patrick Beverly. Oh, never mind. They got the point. They got the EuroLeague point guard, Milo Teodosic, who is like the off-brand Ricky Rubio. I guess they're gonna depend on him. Yes, he has vision, but there's a different vision from EuroLeague and the NBA. But we'll see. But I don't like the trade for Houston because look at who they gave up. And the Clippers, now they got a lot of talent. But how is that going to come together? They got a lot of scoring. They got a lot of potential scoring. But how is all of that going to fit together? How is DeAndre Jordan going to be on the offensive end? Is he going to be frustrated? That Dallas 84 million looks really good right about now, don't it? I'm not here to shoot slugs, but I'm just keeping it real. Just keeping it real. Now, with the Mellow rumor, and I'm going to reiterate what I just said about the Chris Paul trade. Of course, the speculation is for a team trade, you know. But I'm going to go based off if they did it, one for one, not one for one player, but the Knicks in Houston. If they both were engaged by themselves, and also to reiterate, the when you're coming in as a Knicks GM, Phil Jackson is gone. I'm not going to talk about Phil Jackson because that's a waste of my time. Brand new GM, you got a player who wants to leave. He wants to go to a specific team. You got to do what you got to do. That is that butt eye move. You got to make the butt eye move. Melo is the butt eye move. Now, if I'm the Knicks GM, first of all, I'm going to find a way to see if I can get Clint Capella in this trade, but most likely not. But most likely in this trade to make the numbers work because they're both over the cap, so you got to make the numbers work within 10%. So they're probably within 2 million of each other. So most likely the Rockets will have to probably give up Ryan Anderson and Trevor Ariza for Melo if we're talking financial. And that's why I don't like the trade. Of course, for the Knicks, it's a nice trade because now you can move Porzingis. You can flip flop Porzingis or Ryan Anderson if you like. Porzingis can hit that three, but I'd rather see Porzingis down low. But then again, he's so frail. He might as well just face up and just do that little running hook he does, or do the fadeaway. But I digress. But for Houston, if those were the guys that were going to be moving this move, you now have lost another two shooters. You have now lost another big part of what made you successful last year. Now people might say, well, but they get Melo, they got Chris Paul, they're gonna be better. No. Lou Williams, Patrick Beverly, Ryan Anderson, Trevor Ariza, all to bring in two guys. All right, the defense. Who? All right, so you got the defense is going to be happy because instead of just us worrying about four guys, well, five if you throw in Harden, six if you throw in Eric Gordon. Now you got to worry about Eric Gordon, Harden, Melo, Paul. That's only 4 guys, as opposed to 6 or 7. That sounds like a better matchup. You can live with that. You can live with Melo going for 40, because you're gonna stop everybody else. Can you stop Gordon from getting 20, and Ariza from getting 20, Ryan Anderson getting 25, Patrick Beverly getting another 15? They're scoring everywhere. What are you going to do? Now you have compressed all of that. And that goes back to what I was saying. You cannot compliment a superstar with another superstar. It just does not work. It just doesn't work that way. Damn it, Golden State, that's probably the only exception. But everywhere else, you cannot compliment a superstar with a superstar. It does not work. I don't know why teams is doing it. Golden State is going to get people fired around here. Golden State works because it's Golden State. That's like the unicorn of all unicorns. Every team cannot be Golden State. Every team cannot be Cleveland. Every team cannot be Oklahoma City a couple years back with Durant and Ibaka and Westbrook. You have to, and this is why I respect Greg Popovich so much, is because he builds it the way he wants to build it, and the way he's going to build it is going to whoop your team's ass. He don't follow trends. He follows his book, his way, and he is successful at it. Has been successful for almost 20 years. Say what you want about him losing to whoever in the finals. He got there. He got there his way. He got there his way. The most successful way of doing it, superstar, build around a superstar. And a lot of GMs who do it the right way, they're going to get fired, because guess what? Everybody's like, but you got to do it like, the way to go is doing it like Golden State. You can't be like Golden State. And Houston's going to find out soon enough, this is not going to work. Chris Paul has one year left on his contract. We'll soon find out. Melo has another 2 years. We'll soon find out. But I'm here to say this. Yeah, they might win 50. They might win 50 games. They're not gonna win a championship with this team, the way it is right now. And if they were to give up Ryan Anderson and Trevor Ariza, that unless they find some way to get Steve Kerr, the 25-year-old Steve Kerr, or 26-year-old Jason Kapono, or Proway, the best three-point shooter out there in Europe, this team is going to be out in the second round. It's going to be out in the second round. Chris Paul, yes, you're going to finally make it out of the first round, but you're not going to you're not going to the finals. Sorry, Melo. This team is not going to win a championship. Coming up next, let's talk about some of these NFL moves. You're now listening to the Chris Rocket Podcast.
Bobby, you here again?
Yeah, my doctor told me to reduce stress at work, so I come to Buffalo Wild Wings to eat lunch and watch sports. I get to pick one of 7 entrees, like sandwiches and salads, plus one of 7 sides.
Well, like sides.
It's so affordable I can finally take a vacation.
Where you gonna go?
Here.
Maybe it's been pretty
Introducing
crazy,
the
man.
new B-Dubs Fast Break Lunch Menu, starting at a new low price. Dine in or order takeout weekdays between 11 and 2. Participation and availability may vary. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
You love chocolate.
Chocolate.
You love M&Ms.
Oh, yes.
But your tastes have grown up, and you're just not wild about super sweet milk chocolate, so you've been avoiding M&Ms.
Yeah.
Well, fear no more.
Huh?
M&M's Dark Chocolate to the rescue.
My heroes.
M&M's Dark Chocolate Candies. Available wherever fine candies are sold.
Welcome back, Chris Rockets. Let's hop straight into some NFL. Would you believe preseason starts next month? Next month, man. But let's break down what off season for each division and really really get a gauge on how they do. Not necessarily make predictions. I'm going to make predictions at a later episode, but pretty much just show what how the division looked for particular teams. Let's start with the North divisions. NFC North, which is a weird division considering what happened last year. You had Minnesota getting off to that very hot start, man. Everybody was talking, Super Bowl. Well, to back it up a little bit more, the devastating injury to Teddy Bridgewater in the preseason. Very, very devastating. I think it's a dislocated kneecap. He's set to be 100% this year. Not sure if he's going to return to the beginning of the season or probably week 4 or 5. But they traded for Sam Bradford. He did pretty good. Started out 5-0, and the team only ended up finishing 8-8. And Detroit ended up sneaking in the playoffs, and Green Bay ended up winning the division. But that division right there, I mean, you got a lot of interesting moves that happened in this offseason. Number one being Chicago moves up in the draft Mitch Trubisky out of North Carolina, and everybody was thinking to themselves, I mean, for what? For what? And I mean, it might, Mitch probably could turn out to be a really good player, but you just got to wonder, okay, so why would you pay Brian Hoyer or Mike Glennon? Why would you pay Mike Glennon all that money if you're going to draft Mitch, or not even draft Mitch Trubisky, overpay to move up for him? Like, I mean, they probably could have stayed put and got who they wanted. They probably would have got what they wanted. And to be honest, I think Pat Mahomes would have been a better fit for them because he has just as strong as arm, just as accurate, and he would have fell right to him without them giving up anything. But interesting move by Chicago. You lose Alshon Jeffrey. You lose valuable draft picks that could have helped that team. Yes, the bright spot is Jordan Howard. But what else do you have? And, Green Bay, they added Martellus Bennett. I think that, Aaron Rodgers, all he needs is an okay tight end. He has the wide receivers. If Martellus Bennett could come in, get 50 catches, 500 yards at least, that offense is going to be dangerous. It's already dangerous. And then you have Minnesota, Detroit. Detroit's always been a weird team to me. Sometimes they look unstoppable, and other times it's kind of you just kind of scratch your head on that. This division as a whole, very top heavy, but led by Green Bay obviously. But you just kind of it's bipolar in a way, because sometimes Green Bay can look unstoppable, but then sometimes you be like, oh, okay, this might be the year where they digress. And so, that division is going to be something interesting to look at. The AFC North. You got Pittsburgh drafting Smith-Schuster out of USC. They lose Marcus Wheaton. That offense just it's just dangerous no matter who's in it. It's just dangerous no matter who's in it. This division, obviously led by Pittsburgh. I mean, there's no way they, go backwards this year. There's no way they go backwards. Yeah, Baltimore might be, they might get a little better, but I don't see that. Cincinnati, they're digressing a little bit. They draft John Ross, which, for the life of me, I don't know why when they have all kinds of problems on the offensive line. Their running game was horrible last year. And everybody's kind of thinking, okay, do you keep Jeremy Hill? Or do you keep Giovanni Bernard? What do you do? Their running game was horrible. They had a chance to fix that offensive line. They lose Whitworth, Andre Whitworth, very good, offensive lineman. They lost 2 linemen. I think they lost another one to Cleveland. So their offensive line got worse, and they wasted a top 10 pick on the wide receiver. I don't understand it. And then you have Cleveland, who went 1-15. They kind of made some okay moves. The obvious pick, they got Myles Garrett. They got the Miami kid, David Njoku, who was a very athletic tight end. I think they needed that after losing Garrett Barnidge, and the year before that, Jordan Cameron. They need someone to stretch the field. And they got Jabril Peppers, who, in my opinion, everybody's wondering, where do you put him? Where do you put him? Do you put him at corner? Do you put him at safety? Do you put him at linebacker? I say, if I'm Cleveland, use him exactly the same way. Use him exactly the same way as he was at Michigan. Use him exactly the same way. Move him around. Hey, against this team, you might want to put him here. Against this team, put him in. I know, you kind of messing around with people who, you got guys who, might lose out on the spot. But, when you're dealing with a guy like Jabril Peppers, man, you gotta put him where he's best at. And I think he's best at just being utilized in different positions. You put him at corner. To me, he's not the most fastest guy. He's not the tallest guy. But he's let him use his instincts, and don't try to listen to everybody else. You just do it your way. I mean, you're the Browns. They expect for you to mess up, so just kind of use them your own way. All right, NFC South. Carolina, they draft Christian McCaffrey out of Stanford. I think that was a really good move. I don't think they haven't had a guy come out the backfield catching the ball in a long time. I think the last guy that I can remember was probably Tim Biakapatuka in the early 2000s, and that's about it. But he gives them that extra option, that extra receiving option, as opposed to everybody clamping down on Greg Olsen and Kelvin Benjamin. He gives you that extra threat in the receiving game, and he probably busts out for 600, 700 yards rushing. Kind of reminds me of a Danny Woodhead, and just reliable hands and very good instincts. Has a very good father as a mentor. Ed McCaffrey, who was a great wide receiver for Denver. Very, very good pick for them. New Orleans, they lose out on Brandon Cooks. They traded him for a first-round pick. So everybody's kind of throwing in there, putting all their wheat in the basket for Willie Snead and Thomas, who did pretty damn good. They did pretty damn good. Thomas is a really big dude, a really, really big dude, 6'6". And you got Snead, who's like, real good hands, runs really good routes, and I think Drew Brees was like, okay, I'm comfortable with these two guys, So we'll see what happens with that. They got Adrian Peterson to come to bolster that backfield with Mark Ingram, and I think that is gonna be the interesting piece about this New Orleans Saints team. And in this division, everybody knows that the division winner does not repeat. It has been going on for a while. And I think this is the perfect time to see that repeat. Yes, Atlanta went to the Super Bowl. Yes, Atlanta went and got Terry Poe. But you look at what Tampa Bay did. They went and got Deshaun Jackson. They got somebody to stretch the field, opens up for Mike Evans, and they get O.J. Howard out of Alabama in the draft. Man, watch out for Tampa Bay. This division right here might be the most interesting to me. It might be the most fun to watch, and it might be the most competitive other than the East divisions. So watch out for this division. AFC South, which in my opinion was the most competitive. It's not the best, but I felt like it was the most competitive. You got Houston. They drafted Deshaun Watson. You got, Tennessee, the two-headed monster out there in the backfield. I feel like, with them adding Corey Davis, who if he's all the way healthy, if he's over that knee injury, this might be a pretty damn decent offense, man. And then Mariota comes back from that broken leg, man. Is this they might just go over the top finally. This team is actually going. It's headed in the right direction. To be honest, this division has three of the teams that I feel like is headed in the right direction. Even though Jacksonville went 3-13, I feel like it's going in the right direction. They get Calais Campbell, just a monster on the defensive line. I think that's what they needed. That's what they needed, and he's going to make that locker room a whole lot different. And then you add the fact that the offense, Blake Bortles he needs to snap out of whatever he was doing last year, because he has really good receivers. Marquise Lee came on last year. You got Hearns, you got Robinson. You have very good weapons on that offense. Now you get Leonard Fournette. Man, there's no excuses now. Not to mention, you got the Colts over there. You got the Colts. You got Philip Dorsett. Huge amount of touchdowns in a little amount of games he was playing. This division, to me, is the most competitive. Top to bottom. This is the most competitive division, top to bottom, other than the NFCs. This is the most competitive. And I feel like, you can pick either one. You can make a case for either one of these teams to win. You really can. All right, NFC West, anchored by Seattle, who won the division last year. Seattle is looking to see if Thomas Rawls can actually step in that role full time after, and really just, get a little bit better. It was shaky at first, but they ended up winning by a good low margin. But that defense, it had injuries on it. A lot of, problems. They're looking to clean all that up this year. Arizona, they drafted Hassan Reddick, really, really, really good linebacker. But let's see what's going to happen, man, because Calais Campbell really held that team together. It really held that defense together. How much will that hurt them? How much in losing Calais Campbell really hurt them? And, of course, the injury to David Johnson, he's coming back healthy. Can he repeat that? We shall see. The Los Angeles Rams, to be quite honest with you, that team, that window is closing really, really quick. We could say good defensive line all day and all night, but that offense has to help them. That offense has to help them. That offense has to step up and help that defense. You can't average that many points and then have your defense play that well. It's just not going to happen. And of course, San Francisco, they're going to be in the basement. They're going to be in the basement. To me, this division is a one-man race. Seattle's going to win it again. Arizona, we shall see how much they missed Calais Campbell. AFC West. This division is, one of the it showcases the most interesting teams. The most interesting teams. You got Kansas City, who won the division, who was actually tied, who won the tiebreaker over Oakland. They both had 12-4 records. Kansas City, let's see how much they're going to miss Jeremy Maclin. How much are they going to miss him? How much they're going to miss Dontari Poe? how much are they going to miss these guys? And it's Andy Reid is probably the best guy to kind of deal with this kind of thing. He's dealt with that back in Philly. Oakland, they get Marshawn Lynch. They're going to move to Vegas. Very devastating injury at the end of the year, man. Losing Derek Carr. And everybody had this team going in the Super Bowl. But let's see if that motivates them to go back. This is a very good young team. Let's see what's going to happen with them. Denver, I feel like Denver is, they're stuck in no man's land to me. They went and got Jamal Charles for what reason? I don't know. Hopefully they're hoping they can get something out of Jamal Charles. If they do, I think they'll get to probably around the same record, 8-9 wins. I don't think that'd be enough to win the division, but once again, their defense is going to carry them. And it's all dependent on their running game. Their running game is going to be what carries, to see where they end up on that, in that season. San Diego, Keenan Allen. Can Keenan Allen stay healthy? Keenan Allen was the guy that made that team go. When he went down, the team went down. And then the offseason, they got Brandon Carr, and they also drafted Marlon Humphrey. To be quite honest, I think Carr is there for decorations. Hopefully Humphrey comes in and does a decent job, sort of like how Marcus Peters did. NFC East, which is probably the best division. I think it is the best division. The Dallas Cowboys won the division last year. This is the division. This is another division similar as the NFC South. You barely get repeat winners. And this division, everybody got better with the exception of Dallas. I don't know if you count that as being better when you're already that damn good. The Giants went and got Brandon Marshall. The Redskins went and got Terrell Pryor. And they drafted Samaj Piran. Philly went and got Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith. You got offensive weapons galore in that division. Oh, I forgot. Philly went and got LeGarrette Blount. This division is going to be very, 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 very interesting because Dallas lost all their cornerbacks, but drafted 3 pretty good cornerbacks, and 2 of those cornerbacks they can play safety. And an interesting dynamic is that the other 3 division opponents, they ended up getting wide receivers. So that will be the key. How can Dallas play in the secondary against brand new weapons in that division? I don't think Dallas wins 13 more games next year. I think everybody gets better. I think Dallas gets slightly worse, but who knows with that division? Of course, the AFC East, of course, led by New England. If you look up and down that division, Buffalo, they lose Stephen Gilmore. They lose Carlos Williams. They lose Gillespie. That team is going down. It's going down quick. Of course, the Jets is a mess. Not much to say there. Miami came on strong at the end of the season. J.J. ran like a mofo last year, man. That offensive line is very underrated. That offensive line is pretty damn good. I think they are for real. And then that Miami defense is very underrated as well. Olivier Vernon, they don't miss him. They don't miss a beat. You would think they will miss him, but they don't. And they just find ways to win. They find ways to win, and their only hope is wild card. And I think they have a chance. I think the wild card will come from this division. It will come from this division and the AFC West. But the running game is going to really, really help that defense. And of course, New England, they actually get better. I don't know how the hell you get better after going 14-2. They get Gilmore, they get Cooks, and Tom Brady gets another deep threat since Moss, and I think this team is going to be another Super Bowl contender. So next Saturday, teams are starting to trickle into the training camp. We're going to really just give little reports on different training camps as they come in, different news and notes about position battles and whatnot. And I don't know. I'll probably do my predictions then. I don't know. I probably will. Definitely before the preseason, I will make my predictions for each division, all the way down to how many wins, how many losses. All of that. I'll probably throw some playoff predictions. Of course, subject to change though. But that's all I have for today, man. How was it? It wasn't that bad, right? Wasn't that bad. But tune in. Today was actually Sunday. I think I mentioned it was Saturday. Today is actually Sunday. Hope y'all like it. My next broadcast will be this Saturday on the 22nd. Thanks for joining me on this Chris Rocket podcast. 1, 2, 3rd. Y'all be blessed out there.